Hi there and welcome to the channel. I'm Slate and today I am going over my top 10 picks for the Frostful Lucky Pick, which is where you get to choose what rate up hero you want alongside the Lyra banner. But before we get started, I just need to thank Smile1 for sponsoring today's video. Smile1 is the official third-party platform for topping up your W gold to spend in Watcher of Realms, as they cover a ton of different regions as well as payment options. They have a long-term 10% discount and running a special Frostful Lucky Draw event from the 20th to the 31st of December, where you'll receive a corresponding number of draw tickets depending on how much you choose to top up, to randomly win plentiful rewards including summoning crystals, privilege cards and more. Sharing the event for the first time grants 2 extra draw tickets, and you will also receive additional rewards the more draws you do. Now, the great thing about Watcher of Realms is that it is a very free-to-play friendly game, but if you do decide to spend, then Smile1 has you covered and you can check them out using my exclusive link in the description below. Now, before we get into the top 10, I just want to take a moment to quickly go over the different banners that are coming up and give my opinion on basically why you may decide to summon on these banners and why you decide you might not summon on these banners. Now, first up is this 1+1, which is where if you summon a legendary on your rare crystals, you get an extra one for free. This is one of the best events for a new account because you basically will then increase your roster. You can get lucky, you can get unlucky, but it's the best way to start filling up those things. I'd say if you have moved into sort of like late to end game, they are still good. I love these events. However, with the other events going on, unless you are, huge stockpiling, I think that's actually, unfortunately, now a skip. And so we also have this brand new Nascent Divine Summoning where you are able to get a hero that you don't previously own as long as it's in the normal hero pool from Divines. And obviously you're going to need to have about 20 Divines to make sure that you definitely hit that pity, because new Divine Pity is at 20. So this might be a really good option for those who are trying to fill out their Pokédex, maybe get certain heroes and different things like that. Now, one thing I will say is we don't actually have any confirmation about whether this Lyra Pick Your Hero is also going to include Divines or if it is just going to be rares only, because that is going to be quite interesting in the fact that you could effectively double Nascent on Divines if they do it that way. But anyway, we're going to go over the actual heroes that I would recommend in the order that I recommend them. So the first hero that I am going to recommend, if you don't own, it is going to be Eloin. Why? Because she is a fantastic healer, support unit, rage regener, and all-round #1 support in the game. She can be used in pretty much every piece of content. There are some places that she shines better than others, but essentially she is just a fantastic unit, and so if you don't have her, I would definitely say that she is your first choice. The next hero that I would recommend going for, if you have Eloin, it is going to be Syus. Syus is a marksman, aka boss killer, aka delete button, and he is absolutely crazy good in a lot of content that requires boss killing. You're talking Guild Boss 1 and APOC, all throughout Void Rift, Gear Raid 3, and a few other places as well. Panda agrees, basically. Now, if you have the rest of the heroes on this list, you may actually decide to go for Syus Awakenings. That is because at A3, when there are two or more marksmen on the field, it increases the damage of Syus as well as one random allied marksman by 15%. This is a huge damage boost in content like Guild Boss 1 as well as APOC. So definitely, if you have everyone else on this list, you might decide this is a very good shot to start getting those awakenings for Syus. Don't know, totally up to you. Now, I will say that Awakenings are a whales game in the fact that unless you get super lucky or you have a load of resources, it is very hard to guarantee that you are going to get Awakenings for a specific hero that you want. But if you are interested in Syus Awakenings, you have everyone else, this might be the opportunity that you want to go for. Now, moving on to number 3, and that is effectively Vienna. Why Vienna? Well, essentially, if you have Syus and you do not have Vienna, you are missing out on a huge amount of damage potential with Syus. And that is because these two heroes are bonded. And what happens is there's a little bit of a boost to Vienna, but on Syus's bond skill, he basically deals 100% extra damage during his ultimate, which is absolutely nuts. Basically absolutely disgusting. And so definitely worth getting a copy of Vienna to unlock this with your Sylas. If you have a Sylas and you want to make the most out of him, definitely recommend going for Vienna. Now, Vienna herself is a really solid AoE mage. She's got some lovely uses with this execution in Gear Raid 1, as well as Gear Dungeon 1, and also in certain levels of Void Rift and different things like that. So it's not that she is only good for boosting Sylas, she's a pretty decent AoE mage herself, but definitely the main appeal to getting a Vienna is the boost that it will do to your Sylas. Those are essentially the top 3 suggestions that I have that are sort of like universal to everyone. Now, in terms of the rest of the list, it is really going to depend on your focus and where your account is in the game. Now, one thing I would say that is a priority focus for pretty much anyone when they are playing and getting their account going is to reach Nightmare 4 50k blood. It unlocks the best rewards that you can get daily in the game, and it also unlocks the Demon Soldier Captain Moore, who is absolutely fantastic in GVG and basically is a fantastic unit to help you overpower the enemy's defenses. So I definitely say that 50k Nightmare 4 is definitely a priority that a lot of accounts should be working towards. So with that in mind, if you have those 3 heroes, obviously Sylas is going to definitely help, and a bonded Sylas is also going to help. But next on our list, we are going to talk about Zillu. Zillu is a fighter, ranged magic dealing single target who is lovingly known as the Guild Boss Queen. She does an absolutely insane amount of damage. She can also hit air. So she is useful in like Gear Raid 3 if you are trying to take down the boss in like 19, 20, 21. And different things like that. She is part of an Infernal comp, so I would definitely say if you are thinking about going for her, make sure that you have an A3 Pyrus or an A1 Twin Fiend to make the most of her. But yeah, she's absolutely a fantastic choice and definitely on this list. Speaking of Guild Boss choices, we are then going to move on to Hex. Hex is a magic dealing single target marksman who is absolutely insane and pairs beautifully with Sylas. Now, he is both Piercer and Infernal, so depending on what content you're using him in, it will depend on which Lord you pair him with, although to be honest, I always think he pairs better with a Piercer Lord than he does with Infernal. And so him and Sylas together are absolutely fantastic in Guild Boss 1 to help you get that 50k Nightmare 4. And obviously if you pick up his exclusive artifact, he does even more insane damage, and he's got a bond skill with Twilight, who is a nightmare fighter. It doesn't really do much for his damage boosting, but it does do a lot for his BP if you have a A5 and you are like going for Guild Boss. So this is one of the, not Guild Boss, sorry, GVG. So one of the things that I will say is that if you are a high-end player, you have your A5 Hex, you are wanting to get the most out of him for BP, and you don't have Twilight, that might be why you decide to go for Twilight on this banner. Now, one other very popular Guild Boss 1 hero that's worth mentioning is Saturn. Now, he is a special mention on this list. He is not in my top 10 recommendations, and that is because the main job of a Saturn is to break the shield. And ever since we got the permanent fusion Micah, we now have an accessible shield breaker in the game. And so yeah, Saturn is a fantastic hero. No doubt about it. Fantastic in a lot of cheese strategies in Void Rift and things like that. He's a very unique hero with his range, but so he's definitely a solid choice to go for. But you don't necessarily need him to get 50k Nightmare 4. You can use a Micah. Also, if you have an Ivar, Hex, Sylas as a combination are absolutely disgusting in Guild Boss 1 as well. So yeah, Saturn might be someone that you do decide to go for, but he is sort of like, there are other options depending on your account. Next, I have 2 hero recommendations if you are looking to progress in Guild Boss 2 or APOC. There are 2 heroes that really do make a huge difference. Like I said, if you've already got an Eloin, you've already got a Sylas, then you are going to probably want to pick up Fercy. Fercy is almost mandatory for pushing 80 to 120k on APOC 2, and this is because of his damage reduction, and he also applies inspiration to your team as well. So he is a a really good staple for helping support and boost your team to get those higher scores. Now, speaking of support heroes, the next hero on my list is Constance. She was one of my most wanted for such a long time, and for good reason. She is a ground inspiration unit, she is a tank, she is dual faction with Arbiter and Watchers, and basically is absolutely incredible. She also can really help you in Guild Boss 1 if you are running a ground heavy team like a Nightmare squad. Then you can use her instead of Dolores as your inspiration for that comp, basically. So these two heroes are definitely worth picking up if you don't have them. They make huge differences to your account, and I mean, when I got my Constance for the first time, I managed to go from about 73k to 130k on APOC, to literally just by slotting her into the team. So she is an absolute account changer in what she can enable. Now, my final 3 suggestions are actually what I'd call more versatile heroes for general PvE and PvP content. First up is going to be the burst damage queen herself, Hatet. Hatet is a nightmare marksman with a unique sort of 360 range that she does this burst damage AoE to. She is fantastic in progression, she's fantastic in Void Rift, she's fantastic in a lot of different content, AoE, Arena, GVG, and she's very, very like best in slot for Gear Dungeon 2, taking out those mobs on that top lane. So definitely, she's also one of the rarest heroes to get from the summoning pool, so definitely worth boosting her rates if you don't have her and you are interested in being able to pick her up. Next is also another nightmare unit, and that is Arrogance. Arrogance is a fighter. How many nightmare fighters do we have? Apparently not enough. But anyway, he is absolutely incredible because he does both single target and insane AoE damage. He is fantastic in PvP, PvE, Arena, GVG. He's great in, you can use him in codexes. I did a guide on Conqueror boss using him. He is a very versatile unit that basically, if you are in need of a fighter that does AoE, you are going to bring in Arrogance. He is also bonded to Lust, and the two of them, Lust is a limited hero that has been released twice, once in February and once in September, and the two of them are fantastic at boss killing in Guild Boss 1 as well as APOC. So definitely 100% fantastic unit. Would recommend picking him up if you do not have him. And finally, we have Boreas. Boreas is an AoE magic dealer. He is an esotericist, and he has this very interesting like mechanic where he basically slams his staff down and hits everything on the board, and it's very weird. He also can inflict freeze, so he's fantastic in Gear Raid 1 to help sort of mobs because that freeze applies anti-heal, and different things like that. He's incredibly powerful. He is fantastic in GVG as well as Arena. 2, you can use him again in a load of different content, particularly campaign stage 10. He seems to be pretty much a must. And he is also fantastic in AMR later stages as well. Now, one thing I will say about AoE mages is you really need one for Gear Raid 1 and Gear Raid 2 as well as Gear Dungeon 1. And Comet is such an underrated hero in the fact that Comet just does the best AoE magic damage. Like he just that's all he does. It's not fancy, it's just fantastic. And so he is definitely, if you don't have a Comet and you don't have a Praise, you know, definitely it's kind of, I actually think it's a hard choice because personally I use Comet in a lot more gear farming than I use Boreas, but they are absolutely fantastic. So you might actually, if you don't have a Comet and you do have a Boreas, maybe you want to go for Comet. It's a different thing. And that sort of leads me on to sort of talking about like wrapping this up. And that is because quite honestly, every single account is different, that it's really hard to recommend specifically, oh my goodness me, you have to go for this hero. That's why the top 3 Eloin, Syus, Vienna, I think are sort of universal account focuses. If you don't have them, you definitely want to try and get them on your account. And then it's going to basically be, where are you trying to focus? If you are trying to push 50k Nightmare 4, then you are going to want to get the main damage dealers for that. Now, the main comps for Nightmare 4 are going to be a combination of Piercer, Infernal, and Nightmare. So if you have like a super heavy Nightmare squad, or you've already got an Arrogance, you've got a Lust, you've got a Toreador, then you might go, hey, I'm going to bring in a Hex along with my Syus to pair them up, and different things like that. And then obviously Constance and Fercy, they are your support units for helping you push in further content. Constance is also fantastic in GVG. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I'm definitely going to mention that there. The other 3 units are just fantastic. And I think this is the thing. You may want to sort of just look at your account and look at where you're missing some of the content that you're struggling with, and then sort of see which heroes are going to best suit your account. Now, over on my Discord, I do have a dedicated channel called Who to Pick for Lyra, so that if you do want specific account advice, there's a lot of people in there, myself included, that are happy to sit and chat and help you with that decision if you decide that you are going to summon on the Lyra banner. Now, we do have some incredible events coming up with Lyra, with this Nascent Divine, with Sun Wukong coming around the corner, that there is a lot of choices to be made for your own account as to what is going to best progress you based on how many resources you currently have and whether or not you are a spender. One thing I will say is that I definitely would recommend making sure you have enough for Sun Wukong. Everything that has been posted about him and the brief looks that I've had at him myself, he is definitely worth getting. So I would not do this Lyra banner as a sacrifice for the Sun Wukong banner. So definitely make sure you have enough resources to get him, and then you might decide that this is going to be your best option to get one of these other heroes. Anyway, I hope that helps. Do let me know in the comments below who you've decided to go for, and obviously if you have all of these heroes, who are you going to pick? Are you going to try and clear one off your Nascent so that you can get a rarer hero in your Nascent? That's another idea, is let's say, so for me, for example, I'm missing a Kineza. I could try and pick up Kineza on the Lyra banner and then hope for a Lord on my Divine Nascent. There are, basically different account options. I don't know how many times I can say that, but hopefully you understand what I am trying to say. But yeah, anyway, that is going to wrap things up. Do like and subscribe if you haven't already. I look forward to seeing you in the next video and the next live stream. So until then, take care and bye for now.